Have you ever saved all year for that one family vacation and ended up stressed out about every single dollar?
Not anymore. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen.
And I'm Jo. We're two busy moms who have cracked the code on travel with points and miles.
We're here to show you how we turn everyday expenses into extraordinary vacations.
This is Wonderland on Points, where we share tips and tricks to help you earn free and deeply discounted travel.
Let the adventure begin. Welcome to the Wonderland on Points podcast presented by Yahoo Travel. We are Mary Ellen and Jo, and we are so glad that you are here. Today, we are talking about a points and miles trip to Ireland, although this is a fun one because it includes points and miles, but also a cash fare, which is very rare for us. But Joanna gets to share today about an incredible mistake fare that she got to book. She covered it with points, so points are still involved. But Joanna, I am so excited for you to share. You have been patiently waiting to share about Ireland with the world, and I'm excited we're getting it out there today.
It's finally time. I've actually gotten a lot of messages, you guys, asking, where's the Ireland episode?
You went to Ireland. You forgot to tell us about it.
I'm sorry. I know we have been unbelievably busy. We've had so many guests on. We haven't had time to do a just the two of us in a minute.
Yes, we can make it if we try.
We can make it if we try.
I do know that Will Smith song. I am glad. Yes, we have a couple. We're going to record a bunch right now and next week with just you and I. So we're excited to get some trip episodes, some recaps out there to you guys. Ireland is definitely a dream travel destination for so many people. And you can get some really affordable trips, really affordable plane tickets from the U.S. to Ireland. So it's very accessible, I feel like. And it's something that with points you can make happen.
Yeah, 100%. There are deals all the time to Dublin, all the time. And they're putting in more direct routes often. Last year, I believe, they implemented one from Nashville to Dublin. So the idea of doing direct sounds so magical. There was nothing direct about the way that I went, but that's okay. It was still amazing and it was still worth it. And goodness, the flights itself were part of the experience this time.
Yeah, you guys got to fly business class, and that business class portion of your trip started in Boston. So you went business class from Boston Logan over to Dublin. Tell us about the mistake fare, how you heard about it, how much it cost, and then give us a little bit of preview of that Aer Lingus business class experience.
Yes. So, okay, we've mentioned this before, and we've had Ashley from Ashley Gets Around on the podcast before. She has a business class flight deals list, and this list is cash fares. And so it is a really good fit for people who typically spend cash on their flights or who are interested in maybe erasing their flights with Capital One miles. There are some options for using points here. It's a great subscription because a lot of the flights that she sends out, you're seeing 30+% off the cost of these business class tickets. It could be even higher than that. And in this particular case, she had found a mistake fare from LaGuardia to Boston to Dublin. That was the route that I booked. And it was $435 per person round trip business class.
That is wild. We're talking about like the lie flat business class seats. This is not a domestic plane or, this is the full experience, getting to sleep with your feet up all the way to Europe.
Yeah. And that's about how much I would expect to pay in taxes and fees for an economy round trip. If I paid points, I can still see myself paying close to $200 each way in taxes and fees, at least on the way home. And so when I saw this, we already had so many trips booked, and I had no idea if I was going to be able to take the days off, if we were going to be able to make this work. I didn't know who to take, and nobody else was really available short notice. So I was like, well, guess I'm taking my daughter. And I booked this with basically zero thought. I was like,
you know what? Yeah. Mistake fare. You have to jump on it.
Mistake fares are gone so quick. And I know a bunch of people who tried, and it was already too late by the time that they tried. So I booked it through the Amex portal, knowing that I could choose points to check out instead of cash. And it's funny because Ashley reposted my story on her stories, and she was getting messages from people being like, why did she use points instead of cash? That's such a terrible redemption. Blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't she just spend the $400 in cash? Like, the cents per point are terrible. You guys,
we're cash poor people.
I didn't have an extra $870 to be dropping, first of all. Second of all, you have to remember the actual value of these flights is thousands of dollars.
Right.
So that's what I think about when I think about my cents per point. And then the third thing is when you break it down, I spent 87,000 Amex points total round trip for 2 people. 87,000. That's like 21,000 per person each way for a business class.
Crazy. That's a great use of points. Forget what people say.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe a little more than 21,000, 22, 21 and a half. Sorry, trying to do quick math here. And $0 in taxes and fees.
Right.
I've paid more points than that for a regular Southwest flight somewhere.
So true.
I'm like, get out of here with your nonsense. Just pay cash. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I feel very happy.
Are a little more budget travelers. I do think a lot of people on her email list, because it's a cash fare business class email list, it is typically people who spend a little bit more on their travel than we do. But it's helpful because opportunities like this pop up. I think we need a referral. We do not have any kind of referral for signing people up to that email list.
Ashley, where's our referral? We sure do, but I'll put the regular link in the show notes for you guys if you're interested in signing up.
There is a free version.
There is a free version. It gets about 10% of the deals that the paid version gets. There's probably going to be a sale coming up for Black Friday, so you can keep an eye on that if you're interested in trying it out. My thoughts are, look, when the mistake fares come, if you can find those through a portal or book it with Capital One and offset it with points, like that's where the value lies. And for those opportunities, I would gladly pay, under $200 a year. I think it can be really valuable.
True.
So, yeah.
Well, tell us about the actual plane, like Aer Lingus Metal is what you were on. So tell us about the experience. You have flown KLM business class, so you have that to compare it to. Tell us a little bit about it. Was it nicer, better? What was the seat arrangement like?
This is a 222 configuration. We were in the 2 on the far right side of the plane. So my daughter did have to crawl over me to go to the bathroom. Some people don't like that, but when you're traveling with a buddy, I don't really care. I would say first impression, the plane itself doesn't look as nice inside as KLM. Like the KLM interior looks a little bit more modern and nice to me, but I actually found the seat itself to be more comfortable and more spacious than our KLM business class flight.
Okay.
I also found the food on KLM to be better. We had great food. We'll dream about that butter for the rest of our lives. We've talked about it at length.
Too many times to be talking about the butter.
We need some merch that just says the butter.
The butter.
If you know, you know. But it was unbelievably comfortable. The amenity kits were very basic. It was some cheap socks, cheap eye mask. I did really like the lotion and the lip balm. Some earplugs in there, a little toothbrushing kit. It was basic business class, not some of your bougier, redemptions that people are shooting for, but it was lie flat. It was comfy.
Yeah.
The bedding was better. The blanket was better than on KLM. No complaints at all. I would say on the way back, and I meant to make a note of what actual seats we were in. On the way back, we were on the left side of the plane, and those actually had singles, and so it was me in front of my daughter, and she got the good one because her seat had the storage on the outside, on the aisle side, and mine had the storage on the inside. So she almost had this like wall.
More privacy.
It did feel more private, whereas I felt like I was sleeping right there out in the aisle, and it was a little bit of an odd feeling, but I believe we were seats 6 and 7. You can look on, I think it's Aeropa. You can kind of look at the seat configuration, and I would just recommend people do research when they're choosing their seats. Everything I did was very fast. I didn't have a lot of time to be, I didn't want to lose out and end up sitting by the bathrooms, so I just grabbed some stuff that looked good to me, and I didn't do a lot of research.
We're not bougie over here. We'll take our business class whatever we can get.
However we can get it. But it was great. I mean, the food was fine, and they're feeding you in the sky on like actual dishes. No complaints
so fun.
Here. It really was.
The best. Okay, so you arrived in Dublin and went straight to an arrival lounge, which is really fun when you have the opportunity to go into a lounge. Usually you can only go into airport lounges when you're flying out, not necessarily when you arrive places, but you were able to go into an arrival lounge. So tell us about why that is great, because if everybody wants to, we didn't go through the first part of this trip. This is all tied to her losing her passport, having a nightmare start to her trip where she was awake for like 48 straight hours, basically. We do have a whole episode out about her losing her passport and the first part of this journey, getting to New York, getting up to Boston. We will link that episode in the show notes. But when you arrived in Dublin, you were exhausted. You were filthy. Tell us about the Arrivals Lounge.
First of all, I would not have even known the Arrival Lounge existed. I've never heard of it. I just happened to see it on the little brochure that was at our seat that I happened to flip through and read, which I don't usually do. I don't know, maybe I was bored. And I am so glad that I saw that. This Arrival Lounge is over by baggage claim, and it is only for Aer Lingus Business Class travelers, and there was nobody else in there. I was like, none of these other people that just flew business class with us wanted to take advantage of this? Okay. They have showers. They have gorgeous little pod rooms where you can go in and you can take a hot shower, you can freshen up, and then they have snacks and drinks and coffee, and you can help yourself. Now, you do have like a limited time that you get in there. I can't remember if it was 45 minutes or an hour, but it is, I guess because there's only limited showers and they want to make sure everybody can get in and out, they do give you a time slot. I did kind of think maybe they'd let us sit in there a while longer because there was nobody, but they were very serious about our time slot.
They kicked you right on out.
They were like, by the way, you have 5 minutes left. And I was like, oh, okay. But
you didn't plan ahead. You didn't reserve this. You just showed up.
Just walked in. And it was so lovely because, yes, I was filthy and exhausted. And we were a little bit earlier than our rental car pickup time. And so we had a bit of time to kill, and it was perfect for that.
Awesome. So you picked up a rental car then. How was the rental car experience there? Especially, I know you used your Chase Sapphire Reserve for coverage because it comes with primary rental car coverage. Did you pay with points? Did you do it through Chase Travel? How did you book it?
Yeah, so I used National after shopping around for a bunch and comparing prices from a bunch. I believe it was $630 for the whole rental, which I felt like was pretty good. And I was also pretty nervous because I've heard some horror stories about car rentals in Ireland and people getting like absolutely fleeced with the insurance.
Because it's an intimidating place to drive is what I've heard.
It sure is. It sure is. And so I wanted to pick a company that I was familiar with. My Chase Sapphire Reserve comes with national status, which was nice. And so I booked it through the National app. And then I called Chase Sapphire Reserve to make sure that I had coverage in both Ireland and Northern Ireland, because you may remember all the way back to our episodes with Rami, these are actually two separate countries. They use different currencies. One uses euros, one uses pounds. You have to have coverage in both places. You actually even have to have an ETIAS to be in Northern Ireland. Now, there's no border that you don't go through like a border crossing where you show your papers, but if at any point we had gotten stopped and asked for them, I would have needed proof that we had that but you don't need it for Ireland itself, which is where we flew into. So I wanted to make sure I was covered in both places. You are covered with the reserve. And she said you should print out your documentation and you should bring it to the rental car counter in Ireland, because otherwise they might force you to try to buy coverage. I did not actually have that experience with National, but apparently with others, with smaller, more budget rental car companies, it is possible that they will want to see your coverage documents.
Yeah, that's a really great tip. Definitely print it out. I would also say if you're using your Chase Sapphire Reserve for the emergency medical coverage, just print everything and have it with you, proof that you have these things in the event of sudden emergency comes up. Because I remember in our episode talking about that with Miss Carol, who had a horrible experience in Mexico, she realized that she needed all this documentation. Things ended up being covered, but it was hard to, in the moment, track down some of that coverage and documentation. It's easier if you kind of have it going in. It takes being organized, which this was a very spur of the moment. Well, it wasn't spur of the moment. You booked it spur of the moment, but then you had time to prepare.
Like a month. It was pretty quick. It didn't feel like I had time to prepare, especially with the whole passport fiasco. I did actually buy trip insurance as well through Lisa before we went. I believe it was $33 total for our entire trip. And I just wanted to have it.
ChasingMemories.co for anybody who's not familiar with Lisa. She's been on our podcast. Her website is ChasingMemories.co.
Yes.
Okay, so you got your rental car, and then you checked into a Mr. and Miss Smith property, which you did book with points. Tell us a little bit about that, the Wilder Townhouse, which is a fun name.
Oh, it is a fun name, and it's a fun property. It is so cute. I honestly wish that I'd spent a little more time kind of walking around the property and gone to the little cafe and stuff. We were there just for one night, and we were so tired. We were so tired that we didn't really get to soak it in, but it feels like this old-fashioned manor house, and that's really, really fun. It was 22,125 points for the night, which is high, but, it could be worse. And it was a Mr. and Mrs. Smith property, but I did get an email right before it was time for us to go on this trip that they would not be partnering with Mr. and Mrs. Smith anymore, and therefore would not be bookable on Hyatt points anymore. So I don't know who's got them now or what program you can use to book them. So unfortunately, that's probably not one that's going to be as easy to copy, but it was the perfect location because we could just walk all kinds of places from there. It was super, super walkable. We just left our car and kind of strolled around, and it was nice. And the room was ready when we got there at I want to say it was 11 a.m. or something like that. It was awesome.
Nice. Yeah, that's really helpful when you can get in a little bit early. Now, you guys had quite a bit planned for Dublin, but like I mentioned, when you got there, it was on the tail end of several days of stress and exhaustion and lack of sleep. So you guys didn't quite do everything you originally planned, but you still got to see a whole bunch. So let's talk through what you got to see actually in Dublin before you guys took to the countryside and kind of went around Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, we had all kinds of plans. I wanted to see the Book of Kells, and there's so many cool historic things in Dublin you can see. There's pubs you can go to. We did none of that. We actually crashed for a few hours when we got there, which was a terrible idea. An actually terrible idea because it was so hard to wake up. I think I was texting you and I was like, we took a nap. It was such a bad idea. I don't want to wake up. Julia doesn't want to wake up. We should not have done it. But we managed to, I think after about 2 or so hours of sleeping, we managed to drag ourselves up and walk around. So very, very close by is Stephen's Green Shopping Center, which is this gorgeous mall, I guess you would call it. I don't know how to describe this. Everything is white and looks like it's like you're on the inside of a clock. It's like this very clockwork looking building, and the ceiling is all open glass, and it is really lovely, and there's all kinds of stores in there. We found the TK Maxx, which is the equivalent of a TJ Maxx, and we also found basically their equivalent of Walgreens. I can't even remember what it's called. And had to buy a bunch of stuff because when you pack in less than an hour for an international trip, You
It's not your
forget
best packing
lots.
job.
It's not your best. It's not your best. We forgot lots of things, but we went and picked them up. We went to the Epic Irish Immigration Museum, which was very cool. It's super interactive. It would be really, really good place to take younger kids, I think. We were so tired that reading and trying to soak in information was very hard for me specifically. I was like, I don't even know which way is up. I'm not sure how much of this I'm absorbing. But it was a very cool museum. I think it was a little pricey. I want to say it was like $20 a person, 20 euros a person. But I would recommend it. I just would want to go back with a fresher mind so I could really learn some things.
You guys did go to Grafton Street, which is supposed to be really cute, right?
It is so cute. There were buskers everywhere playing music. There's shops that line it. It reminded me of where we were staying in Vienna, where there were all those streets nearby that were just walking streets with shops everywhere. Cars don't drive down it. So there was so much to see and do. We just kind of plowed through it. We were so tired. It's really, my review of Dublin is pretty lame. What we did find near there was both gelato and McDonald's.
What was the gelato place called?
It was called Gino's, and it was excellent. It was right on the corner at the end of Grafton Street, right when you go across into St. Stephen's Green, the park area, which is a gorgeous park. You could spend hours laying in there, and because the sun was out, it felt like every person in Dublin was outside laying in the grass. And I was like mesmerized by this because they were just so grateful to be laying outside in the sunshine doing nothing. I mean, some people were reading, some people were chatting, some people were kicking a ball. I saw nobody looking at their phones. Everybody was just socializing out in the sun, and it was very beautiful.
Soaking up the vitamin D while they could. It's
That's right.
Rare commodity
It's
there.
a rare thing, even though my experience in Ireland was that the sun came out every single day.
Yeah, you got such great weather for your trip.
It was ridiculous. Everybody kept saying how, like, this is not normal. This is not normal.
And this was kind of mid-July, mid to late July that you were there. What did you feel like Dublin was? That's such a high tourist month for much of Europe, where it's just, when you go into July and August, the streets are just packed with people. Do you feel like Dublin was very crowded, over touristy?
Yeah, it was crowded. Though walking through Grafton Street, there were people. You were pretty packed in there. But it was just, we were there for such a short amount of time that it didn't have time to affect me negatively. And I knew that really I wasn't coming to see the cities. I was coming to see the country. Let's be real. That's where my heart is.
So the next morning, you guys did take off in your car and head, driving through the countryside a bit. What were your first stops that very first day that you started driving?
Yeah, so we were heading north because the whole trip is based in Northern Ireland. We weren't seeing much of Ireland at all. And I knew that I wanted to go to an Irish Aldi because I like to go to all of the foreign Aldis because they have different things and they're lovely. And I knew we needed, some stuff to take to our Airbnb. There was not an Aldi anywhere in the vicinity of where we were staying. So I hit the last one possible before we left Ireland, and I only knew where that was because I put our itinerary into ChatGPT, and I was like, show me where there's an Aldi along this route, and it said, here you go. So it was awesome. I got some good Aldi snacks, and it was definitely the most affordable food that we bought for our entire trip was the Aldi groceries. So that's the way to go.
Aldi is the best. Let's just take a moment for all of the Aldi people out there. You can't beat it. It is the best.
It is the best. And it's really fun to get alternative goodies to the ones you're used to.
Holiday shopping. I know, guys, it seems far away, but it's not. It's slipping up on us. Hear us when we say, do not do holiday shopping without going through a shopping portal. And we have one that will give you a free $50. Literally, you buy your first $50, you will get that $50 back in the form of cash or points, whichever one you choose. Joanna, what have you bought on Rakuten lately?
Girl, I just spent $400 at PetSmart. I know that sounds excessive, guys, but I have a lot of animals. And so I wait. I stack up my cash and my pet budget on the side, and then I wait for a massive Rakuten multiplier, and then I just buy a whole bunch of pet food months all at one time. So I just earned like 10,000 points on Rakuten by waiting for a 25% back on PetSmart offer. And do you know what I can do with 10,000 points that I can transfer to? I don't know. Maybe they're going to Hyatt. Maybe they're going to Southwest. Maybe they're going to Atmos because I transfer them via Bilt. And let me tell you,
That's 2 flights.
That
Atmos
is
flights. You can snag a 4,500 point flight.
yes, which I can do to come visit you. Sleepover.
That's right. All right, guys. So if you are not using Rakuten, highly recommend you download the app. Sign up with the link in our show notes. It does give us a little bit of points, which we very much appreciate. Highly recommend for the tracking of all the things that you use their app. I think that's the best way to shop if you want to shop through Rakuten. And make sure once you sign up that you actually shop through the portal because you don't get the $50 unless you make a $50 or more purchase. So go get your free $50.
Yes, even if you don't want the points, they will literally PayPal you $50 or send a check to your house. So it literally is a free $50 item. I can see, guys, I can see all the people that sign up with our link and never actually spend their $50, just so you know. It does tell us, and we don't want you guys to miss out on that free $50 or that free 5,000 points. That can actually do something for your travel, and who doesn't love free stuff?
Okay, guys, back to the episode. Now, for lunch, though, you guys pulled off at a little Quayside Cafe. Is that how you spell it? How you say it?
So Quay is actually pronounced key, down by
Quayside.
the quay. Yes.
Ooh.
It's I think it's like a little cove of water or something, if I'm not mistaken. I only am familiar with that word because of the song in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, where it says down by the key. And I sang it in choir, and I had the words in front of me in high school choir, and I said, "That's how you spell key?"
Look at you remembering something from high school.
I know. It's such a random memory. That is the only reason that I know that is how this is pronounced. But yes, Quayside Cafe in County Louth. Don't really know how to pronounce that one.
Hey, we got Quayside.
We do. We got it. 50% pronunciation is good, right? I only knew this was here because we were driving down the road and they had a little sign, and we were hungry at this point and had to go to the bathroom. And I was like, that sounds interesting. Let's do that. And I just pulled off, and it ended up being this little cafe perched up kind of on a hill overlooking the sea. And there were all these little rental cabins there that people were clearly vacationing in. There was a nice bathroom. You had to request the key from the lady inside, but then she let us go around to the bathrooms, and they were super clean and lovely. And we got toasties, which are essentially like elevated grilled cheeses with things on them, and they were so yummy. So good.
I love elevated grilled cheese.
Yeah, I mean, it's like grilled cheese, but then they put other things on them if you want. You could get like a jam or bacon or,
Cute.
Yeah. So good. It was really good. And so that was like just a lovely little stop that was unexpected.
And then you had another spontaneous stop, though, not long after that. This was such a true road trip. Like, let's just see where the road takes. I mean, you had a destination, but you just kind of stopped where it seemed fun to stop. And one of those places was a castle, right?
Mm-hmm. So this was the town of Carlingford, and we were supposed to just be driving through, and then I saw a castle on the side of the road. And I was like, I'm going to pull over.
Please.
Yeah, I'm going to pull over and go look at that. And you literally could. You could just park and you could walk right up to the castle and all around the grounds and the outside. And they do tours, but it wasn't even open for tours when I was there. So I just explored the outside and I was like, this is so cool. My first Ireland castle, just hanging out here on the side of the road. It had a bunch of plaques. You could read the history. That made this drive so fun, is that we just stopped along the way and saw really unusual things for those of us that live in the States.
You also went through Tollymore Forest, right?
Oh,
So beautiful.
So amazing. Okay, if I could do something differently on this trip, it would be to plan a lot more time to spend at Tollymore because I did not realize how massive it was. Maybe I should have done more research. I've always heard of Tollymore Forest because it is the inspiration for C.S. Lewis, Narnia, the wood between the world, all of that stuff. Like people say that he spent a lot of time here and it's where he got a lot of his inspiration. And so I already knew that and I already wanted to visit. They've also done some Game of Thrones filming in here. I did not realize that it was just like miles and miles of massive forest. You can hike all over. There's challenging hikes. There's easy walks. If I had known that, I would have worked it into one of our days. It was probably 45 minutes from our Airbnb, so we could have gone back, but we were so packed with our itinerary that we didn't. We spent about an hour. I did this beautiful walk down to the river. I kind of climbed down, stuck my feet in it, and that was so nice. But I would definitely recommend people potentially make like a half day of it. Pack some lunch. We saw all kinds of people with coolers just enjoying the day. It's stunningly beautiful. It's just
and
absolutely
other than like
gorgeous.
£5 for parking, it's free, right? That's a free forest that you can explore.
Exactly. And if you bike in or walk in, it's completely free. So I've heard that there are places surrounding if you don't want to pay for parking, but like £5, it's no big deal. I would prefer to be in the park and, spend a little bit of money.
Absolutely. And then you said it's only 45 minutes, so you continued on to your Airbnb. Tell us about the Airbnb. You stayed here for a couple nights. You kind of stationed yourself there for a little bit?
3 nights there. It was $530 for the 3 nights, and that ended up being a tremendous value for what this house was. You could not tell online how massive it was. Downstairs, it had 2 living rooms, a full bathroom, and a kitchen with a sitting area. Upstairs, it had 3 bedrooms and another full bath. It was so big, and there were just 2 of us, and it was so funny. Like I just felt spoiled, and it was nice to be able to spread out. Teenagers like their own space. We had to share a bedroom. We had to share a bed at the Wilder Townhouse. So this was a nice change from that.
So $530 for 3 nights, but you were able, at least a little bit, to pay with some Airbnb gift cards, which you earned through our favorite app, one of our favorite apps, Fetch.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we will put the Fetch links down below for you guys so you can be using those. But that is an app where we scan receipts from our purchases and earn points. And eventually, you can cash those points in for gift cards. I cashed them in for Airbnb gift cards. I want to say I had like $125 that I put towards this with Fetch.
That's awesome. It's a slow burn, guys. I don't want y'all to think that suddenly you're just going to have money for travel. But if you just kind of diligently throughout the year scan your receipts, I let it scan my email receipts too. Over time, they do add up. And when you're thinking about your budget for travel, if you can take $50 or $100 off the cost of an Airbnb, that's fantastic. I mean, this was a $530 Airbnb. If you were able to take, $100 off, that's huge. That's like 20% of the cost.
It is. And then I used Capital One points to erase the rest. So, I ended up using maybe 40,000 Capital One points. And
for
that's
3 nights.
3 nights at a house, a massive house. Now, the sad thing is that the lady who owns it did tell me that they are thinking about retirement and closing down the operation. They are getting up there in age. And so I don't know what will exactly happen with this house. But for now, it's still active. I will put the link for you guys because it was the perfect place. It allowed us to see a bunch of stuff up on the north coast, but also explore some quieter countryside things. And I loved it. I loved it. And also there were fresh scones and fresh homemade jam waiting for us when we got there.
That's such a nice touch, just for the host to have that. I was kind of I loved our Airbnb in Norway, but they were on a farm and they have like won prizes for their meat and stuff. And somebody that I was talking to was like, oh, did they let you sample anything? And I was like, you know what? They didn't, which, whatever. It's
They
a business. They don't have
should.
to. But that would be really nice. So that's fun that they baked scones and had all that. That's the kind of welcoming touch that is really nice.
It was so nice. And they lived next door. So if we needed anything, they were there. They had a pasture of cows in the back. We did try to get the cows to eat biscuits from our hands, and they did not want to. There was a pasture of sheep across the road. It was such a lovely little quiet farming area. It's called Dromara. And the nearest big town is Dromaer, which is maybe a 15-minute drive away.
Well, that's not bad. Well, the
not
next
at all.
morning, you finally got some rest, and then you woke up for probably your biggest sightseeing day of the whole trip. So you left at 7:45 in the morning, and you worked your way along the north coast. So walk us through that day and what stops that you made. I know there was some more Game of Thrones locations.
So our first stop was Musenden Temple. It's not actually a temple. This whole property was built by an eccentric man who made his library look like a temple. What I wish is that you could go inside, and you cannot. But the outside of this building is so cool. It's this big round dome sitting right on the edge of the cliff. So on this location, there is that temple. There's also the ruins of the manor house that he lived in. The coast and the scenery was just absolutely incredible. And it was £10 to park, free to explore and walk around. There's coffee shops and bathroom right there on property. And then after, you can turn down the road and drive down to the beach below the cliffs. You could easily spend a whole day at the beach down below the cliffs. It was lovely. You can even drive out onto the beach. I don't recommend it unless you have a super hardy, like a Jeep or something. If you're in a Volkswagen, don't recommend driving out on the beach.
Did you learn by experience?
I
Oh
had
my
to
gosh.
get out of my car 10 different times to try to dig out sand from in front of the tires to try to get myself out. And what annoyed me was the amount of men in the vicinity that did not offer to help push my car.
Chivalry is
They all just
dead
looked.
in
They were all
Ireland.
watching
Northern
me.
Ireland.
Now, if you stay on the packed sand, you're probably fine. But I didn't really realize what was packed and what was not. I wasn't really paying attention. There were so many people that were driving out there. I thought it would be fine. I didn't. Oh, it was awful.
The good news is you did eventually get it out.
did eventually
the
get it out.
parking, I know we talked about the parking for the forest was £5. This was £10. Were you able to pay for these like on an app on your phone? Did you need cash to pay for parking at these places?
I tapped at every single place this whole
Beautiful.
trip except for one meal we had that was cash only.
Okay.
Tap,
So
tap,
all tap.
which I like. That's what
Me
I like.
too.
Let me tap
Now, this
everywhere.
same day, you guys went to Dunluce Castle. So tell us about that. I feel like that is something, and I haven't really, Ireland and Northern Ireland was definitely like bucket list travel for you. I haven't looked into it as much, but I feel like I've heard of this castle.
It's very famous. It's huge. It's really close to Giant's Causeway. So it's all up there on the northern coast. And it was epic. It was massive. And it was from, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I didn't write this down. Maybe 1600s is when the first iteration of the castle was built. Of course, it goes through, during history, it goes through builds and wars and, additions and all kinds of things. But it was £6 for adults and £4 for children up to 17. Everything that we did in Ireland, children were priced as children up to 17. And I
Nice.
appreciated that.
Yeah.
We also found free parking along the road, which was nice. There was a paid lot as well. Don't know how much it cost.
Well, that's good that there was an option that you could just be on the road and not pay for that.
Yeah, and I could have spent a long time wandering through here and reading all of the signs. And it's so fun to let your imagination wander about the people that walked through this before you and lived here. And it's so wild to consider. Teens aren't as into the history and at least not mine. So we didn't spend a ton of time, but enough. It was very cool. And it's also up on a cliff. So it's just got these stunning views, and it was really cool.
You went to what I would consider like one of the main events, one of the reasons people go to Northern Ireland, and that's Giant's Causeway. So tell us, was it every bit as gorgeous and unbelievable as it looks in pictures?
Yeah, pictures don't even come close to doing this place justice. It is so bizarre. Like, they can explain the science to me over and over of how these like hexagon columns somehow appeared, and it still makes no sense to me. They're so perfect, and they interlock together, and they go on so far. Like, apparently they go all the way over to Scotland. You can't like
it is
see
wild
them all the way. It makes zero sense to my brain. It is so cool to see these. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, and it is wild. And you can hike down, you can hike back up. There are some cliff hikes around the top. Like, there are options for making this a very long or a very short experience. You can also take the shuttle down and back if you want to. We walked both directions, which was my child's idea. I thought we should walk down and ride back up, but she's like, no, we should walk back up. And I was like, I don't know
Look
who
at
you
her.
are, but I'm proud.
And you do have one hot tip, though, to make it maybe a little bit cheaper.
Yeah. So there is a parking lot right at the top, and it's where you feel like you're supposed to park. But if you park there, you have to purchase the parking and a ticket to the visitor center, which we didn't even go into the visitor center. I didn't feel the need to go into the visitor center. I wanted to go see the main event. If you park down the hill a little way at the Bushmills Railway, which you can take a little ride on that if you want to. We didn't, but you can. It was like, I don't know, 8 to 10 pounds maybe to park your car down there, which was way cheaper than up the hill. And it just added a little bit of a walk. It was no big deal and seemed like the best way to go for sure in terms of saving some money and not being forced to enter a visitor center that I wasn't interested in.
Yeah, love that. And I'm so glad that your daughter was into it.
Yeah.
You know, that she was like, no, let's walk. That she really, it seems like it's one of those stops that is probably good for all ages because it's so fascinating and unique that from the oldest to the youngest, people can get into it.
Oh, absolutely. And you could climb around down there forever if you wanted to have a picnic. I don't know. All of these places are such a choose your own adventure. Like, you can stretch them as much as you want, or you can just see things bam, bam, bam. Like, however you want to do it, you can. We moved a little faster on this trip, at least especially on this day, than I usually do.
Okay. But you gave yourself time to enjoy that. You didn't stress over rushing through that.
A couple hours we were there.
But the same day, you kept going, and you went to a cool rope bridge?
Okay, Carrick-a-Rede Rope Bridge is the coolest thing ever. I think I liked it even more than Giant's Causeway because the views are so spectacular. The water is so blue. The cliffs are so green. And it is this long rope bridge connecting these two land masses. One is actually connected to the mainland, and then the other one is only accessible across the water. Like, you have to take this rope bridge to get over to it, and it's very fun.
It does cost a little. This is not a free activity, though.
No, this one is not free. So the parking at this one is free, but you have to have a ticket, and I absolutely recommend booking ahead of time. We booked a time slot ahead of time. I don't know if there would have been anything available if we had tried to walk up and book a ticket. It was £16 for adults and £8 for children 5 to 17, free for under 5.
Okay. And one thing that I think is important to note for this particular activity is you were kind of surprised the walk from the parking lot to the bridge. You don't park just right beside the bridge.
Yeah, I did not realize that. We were already very tired. We had walked the big hill up from Giant's Causeway, and it was hot. It was, which I never expected in Ireland for the like blazing sun and sweating. So we did not realize that we were going to have to do like a hike to get to the bridge. I don't know why that never came up in any of the reading that I was doing. So that is something to note. It feels very far if it's hot and if you've been doing other hiking and activities for sure. But it is by far one of my favorite things that we did. So I would say absolutely worth it.
Okay, now I have, even saying that, you told me, correct me if I'm wrong, that seeing this crazy, geological masterpiece, something mind-blowing, this rope bridge, the highlight of your day was actually not those things, but you went to something called the Glenshane Country Farm for a sheepdog demonstration, and you loved it.
I loved it so much. I loved it so much. This place was incredible. If you are going to be in Ireland, I feel like this is one of those quintessential experiences. Like sheep and farming and sheepdogs are so ingrained in the history and the way of life in that part of the world. And to get to see these fascinatingly intelligent creatures who can follow commands in multiple different languages and know their unique whistles that tell them to do certain things. Like, it is unbelievable watching them at work, watching them herding sheep. Not to mention, we got to hold some baby lambs. I mean, if you don't call that a highlight, I don't know what is.
Yeah, we would have loved that. My whole family would love that.
What's really cool about this place is it's multi-generational. This farm has been in their family for generations, and now this is their main thing that they do, which is hosting people from all over the world to immerse them in this experience. Every single tour that they do is 100% private. So this is definitely one of those things that's like, it's the reason that we fly for basically $0. It's the reason that our accommodations is very close to $0 so that we can invest in experiences. This one is an experience and it is worth the splurge. I actually, when I posted about it on Instagram, I got a couple of messages from people that have been there and they were like, this was one of our favorite things we did in Northern Ireland. And I was like, yes, it was so cool. And you, because it's a private experience, you and whoever you have there, your group, you get to ask questions and to really interact, and it doesn't feel crowded or rushed or anything like that. They have a really nice little gift shop and restaurant with beautiful views there that you can experience. I mean, you could be out there for a long, long time, and I never wanted to leave the puppies and the lambs.
Well, you're such an animal person too. And
yes,
with the dog and the border collies, I know you said it was really cool to just appreciate how smart they are.
It made me judge my border collie a little bit. She's right here in the room behind me. I was like, man, you are not the level of intelligence of these guys. Maybe it's because she's only half. Maybe that's why. I don't know. Or maybe it's because she's never been trained. But they start as puppies. They start working with them. The pedigrees of these dogs go back generations. Like, these are pure working border collies from champion lines, from farming lines. I mean, it's like incredibly important to them that if these dogs are going to be working dogs, that they actually come from these bloodlines that they know have the right genetic makeup to do all the things that are required of them. And it is so fascinating. And they literally will answer commands in English, in Irish, Gaelic, and also, like I said, they have whistles that they know what the whistle means. It sounds a certain way. It means go a certain direction, or it means tiptoe up to the sheep, or it's wild. It's wild. I think the dogs might be smarter than I am.
they I'm not saying they might be smarter than you, but they might be smarter than a lot of us, I guess.
It was incredible. They also have a really cool area inside where you can see all of these different variety of sheep. They have literally brought in, I mean, I didn't even know there were this many kinds of sheep. And they've brought in all these different sheep from all over the place so that you can see them kind of next to each other. Some of them have the funniest looking faces. Some of them have really crazy horns. And then we got to watch an entire shearing demonstration. So we literally got to watch a sheep be fully sheared of its wool. And it is incredible to watch. And also, you have to be quite strong to do such a thing. It is a workout for sure. It was so cool.
I do feel like that's such a neat local experience.
Yes.
For Ireland. That's really awesome.
It is a unique local experience. And then I bought a hat made from the wool from their sheep. And that was
fun.
Really special.
That's I love souvenirs that have true meaning for something that you enjoyed on the trip.
Yes, 100%. It was incredible.
Okay, at this point, you guys have had truly like a marathon day from 7:30 in the morning, a lot of driving, a lot of exploring, an amazing day, but a long day. But you found a really cool place to eat dinner because it was almost like a food court, right?
Yeah, it was. It was like a gas station looking thing on the side of the road. And I knew that we had seen a sign for Chick-fil-A on our way out of town. So on our way back into town, I just routed us to Chick-fil-A, and it took us to this food court place that was literally like you could get gas there. But then you went inside and it felt like a mall food court. It had Chick-fil-A, it had like an Asian place, it had a sandwich sub place. You could pick any of the food you wanted. And we had the great honor of trying one of Ireland's only Chick-fil-A locations. And
one of the
delicious.
Only international Chick-fil-A locations.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I feel right at home. Actually, the lemonade was like 1,000 times better even than it is here.
Oh, I bet.
I was like,
sometimes
man.
it gets a little fermented at home.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bad Chick-fil-A near me. They're not up to the true Chick-fil-A standard, I always say.
Well, this one was
Question,
great.
though, because I feel like a lot of people, anytime there is a food court where a lot of different options are available, families, kids, everybody wants different options. Where exactly is this? Because I think if other people are traveling around, they might like to know the exact name or location. I guess if it's so rare to find a Chick-fil-A somewhere, you could put that in Google and probably find it. But if you can find the name, tell us the name, because I think other people would love to know.
Okay, so this Chick-fil-A was the Temple Patrick Chick-fil-A, and it was literally in a motorway station. Like you can see it from the highway. I think you're on the M2, it's called, or maybe it was the M1. I don't know. You're on a big highway. It's outside of Belfast. It's not in any big cities, but it is literally right there on the side of the road.
Okay.
And so it will be very, very easy for you to find if you are in Northern Ireland and like in the vicinity of Belfast area.
Okay. Now, the next day, you guys were supposed to go to Belfast, but you had such a marathon adventure day the day before that you guys did something that I love on trips, and that is you pivoted a little bit. You decided to be flexible. You decided the teenager could do her own little resting teenage self situation. And you were like, you know what? You're old enough. Peace. I'm out. You hang out here at the Airbnb and chill. And I'm going to go adventure. And you just went and started kind of exploring a lot of the sites near your Airbnb.
Yeah, Mama's a solo traveler now. That's right. I never actually thought I wanted to solo travel until this part of this trip. And then all of a sudden I was like, do I love this?
Yeah, do I love just being able to explore wherever I want?
It was really cool. So we had gotten a few recommendations from our Airbnb host of things nearby that were lovely. And I don't know, I was kind of excited to see Belfast, and the Titanic Museum would have been interesting. But like, I really was in Ireland for the nature and the ancient things. Like, I like ancient history. I'm fascinated by it. And so when I had started doing a little Googling based off of the recommendations, I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to do this stuff. She doesn't want to go anywhere anyways, so she can hang and watch Netflix all day if she wants, and I'm going to go out and do stuff. And all of this was close enough where after each activity, I was just like, hey, here's where I'm going next. Want me to come pick you up? She did not, but that's okay. That's fine. So the first thing I did was hike Sleeve Krug, which is one of their local mountains. I did call this a mountain before I went to Alaska. Now I'm not so sure it can be called a mountain anymore.
A local hill.
A local hill. It was a pretty steep climb, and it took me a while, at least an hour and a half to get to the top of it. So it wasn't nothing. And then up at the top, I found an ancient burial mound that I was able to research later that was absolutely fascinating.
And sheep all along the way.
Sheep just hanging out just along the road, being so cute. It was amazing.
After that, one of your stops was you found something called a dolmen. What is a dolmen?
Yeah, so and we saw a couple of these during our time. A dolmen is a Neolithic portal tomb, which coolest combination of words ever. It's basically like Stonehenge, I think, would probably be considered a dolmen as well. Like, these are spots, they don't know how they got there. It's massive rock balanced upon other massive rocks, and underneath they found burial remains. And so I need to find a documentary on these or something that teaches me more about them. But this one, Leganani Dolmen, is literally out in the middle of like a couple farm plots. There's nobody there. It took me a minute to even figure out where to walk off of the main road. There was a sign, but I was like, which way do I go? Where is it? I felt like I was walking on someone's property, and you're just allowed to do that. And I literally got to put my hand on these massive stones that it's still unclear how this was created. Cue a bunch of conspiracy theories about giants. And it's dated like 5,000 years old.
That's crazy. My mind just can't even. Our country is so young.
Yes.
It's when you think of things 5,000 years old. I mean, our country, I guess, was here then too, but we don't have those things.
No, we don't have physical remains from that time that are easy to find or to look at. Like, that's still standing because it's so massive and so solid. And how, without technology, did they get that big rock up on top of those 3 standing rocks? How did you do it? I have questions.
You've then found another. I feel like I'm in like geography class right now, history and geography class, because you found something else, a soul terrain.
Yes.
And what exactly is that?
Right. So a souterrain is an underground stone shelter. This is the Finnish souterrain that I found, and it is a tunnel under the ground, lined with stones, completely reinforced. And this is from the time of the Viking raids.
Oh, shout out Vikings.
That's right. They literally would hide in this tunnel when the Vikings were coming to raid so that they would hopefully not die. And then in the
Turns out the Vikings were like really...
They were awful. They were bad people, yeah.
We learned a lot about them when we went to Norway. And I was like, oh, Vikings were kind of bad. Okay, you can actually, though, back to these tunnels, you can crawl into them, which sounds like something I would absolutely not want to do.
I was a little nervous because there was nobody any of these places that I went. I was all alone. It was quiet, and something about it was actually amazing. Like, to see these ancient structures, and there's no crowds clamoring to see these things. Where is everybody?
This is definitely not an over-touristed area.
Not at all. Nobody even knows or cares that these things are here. And this is why I thought staying in the middle of the countryside was such an awesome idea. I went inside this thing by myself. You have to crouch all the way down. You could crawl on your hands and knees, I guess. I didn't want to do that. So I'm just like curled up in this little ball, just hobbling along so I don't hit my head. And
Nope. This is a pass for me.
They had solar lighting inside that was like motion censored. So when you would pass one, it would light up. A few of them were burnt out. But I did go all the way back into each little arm of the tunnel with my flashlight. It was scary. I kept thinking, like, what if it caves in? What if someone was behind me and I didn't see them and they shut the door and lock me in here because there's a door on it? I had all kinds of thoughts, but I was like, I cannot be here and not do this. I have to do this, even if it scares me. So I did.
Well, I love that you did, and you were adventurous and all by yourself out here, and all of this within about 20 minutes of that fantastic Airbnb you found.
It's crazy.
And then you ended the day. You ended the day at Windy Gap Viewpoint, which I love because I went to a camp called Windy Gap back in the day. And so you got to kind of watch the sunset there.
It was gorgeous. I went back and got Juliet for this one. And it was this beautiful overlook, a perfect place to see the sunset because it lights up this entire valley. And it was absolutely stunning. Great spot to do that. And after that, we actually headed into the local town trying to find ice cream. Everything was shut, so we ended up buying ice cream from a gas station. It was actually nice. It was good ice cream.
It seems like the theme of all of this so far is you really found the less touristy side of Northern Ireland. You just explored the countryside, and I think that's a really fun way to travel. You didn't just go to the highlights that are in the books. You just kind of let the spirit lead and adventured around.
I did, and it was amazing, and I want to do it again.
Guys, we'll get back to the episode in a second, but we wanted to remind you that this episode is presented to you by Yahoo Travel. We are writing the Why Wonder newsletter in partnership with Yahoo, and this is a fantastic newsletter. It comes to your inbox 2 times a week, and it will really help families travel more for less, just like we teach you on the podcast. It covers earning and maximizing points and miles and has practical advice and inspiration, not just dream destinations. So it really is just an extension of what we are doing here on the podcast.
Yeah, our goal is to keep you up to date on what's happening in travel, any latest developments from Yahoo Travel that our listeners would love. So head on over to travel.yahoo.com. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you put your little star or favorite, the first issue that you get, so that your inbox knows, hey, we want to get this in our inbox, not in the spam or promotions folder. So make sure you set that so that we will be in your inbox twice a week. We are so excited and we're so thankful for everyone who's signed up so far.
Yes, we are. And now let's get back to this episode.
So the next day you had another long day, but you went ahead, packed up, you left the Airbnb. You guys still ended up driving a little further north before ultimately heading all the way back down to the airport hotel in Dublin. But what are some of the stops that you made on that last day of your road trip?
Yeah, so we drove a bit of a different route this time than what we took up to Giant's Causeway, and we were a lot more coastal heading north, which was cool. We stopped at something called Giant's Ring Monument. This is another Neolithic portal tomb site with a dolmen in the middle of it, but this one has a massive mound around the outside in the shape of a giant ring. Like some of the pictures from satellites, you're like, what the heck? What is
like
this?
A crater?
How did it get there? It does seem like a crater, except that they think that this was a built mound, but they don't know how they built it. They don't know why they built it. It's not really tall enough to be like a wall because you can walk over it. And then it's got this portal tomb in the center. And it's like, what the heck? What is this? Why is it here? I have so many questions. I just want to know everything. It was very cool to see. Really, really fun. You can walk around the top of the mound. People were there with their dogs. It's clearly a place like locals just go as a park.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
We also drove through the town of Carrick-a-Rede, and we did not get to stop because we were kind of on a mission. We had a big day, but it looked like a very cute little town. It had another castle there that you could go tour, and this one looked like it was not as much of a ruin as it was like, it looked like it was still, a lot of it was intact, and it would have been really fun to stop and see that. So if you have time to add that to an itinerary, I would.
Okay, well, you can't ever go anywhere, it seems. You and your daughter, your little tradition that you guys have is you love to go horseback riding everywhere you can. So you guys did find a place to go horseback riding, the Island McGee Riding Center. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so the drive out here is just so beautiful. There's a lot of coastal driving. And we did not have a lot of time for a horseback ride. A lot of times we go places and we'll do like a 3-hour trek and it's a big, huge part of the day. This one was absolutely perfect for the time that we had because it was a 45-minute trek. It's very affordable. Like if anybody has never ridden horses before, this would be my number one place for you to start. with just a short, easy, cheap horseback ride. It was perfect. It was like 30 pounds per person is how much it cost for their 45-minute ride. The horses were very gentle. There was no spooking or running or anything crazy. And it was just such a lovely introductory country ride. I mean, I just left there thinking, for the people who always message me after we do the big horseback rides and they're like, I could never be on a horse for 3 hours, or I'm kind of nervous of horses, but I want to try. This was the place for you to start with, like, the international horseback riding experience.
Yeah, 45 minutes, 30 pounds. That's also super affordable for what I feel like normally when you go horseback riding, pretty much
expensive.
Anywhere, it's $100 or more.
Yes.
So 30 pounds is awesome.
Yeah, it was perfect. And the staff was lovely. They were so sweet. We chatted the whole time we were riding. I loved them so much. I would highly, highly recommend. And it's also in a great area for hitting the Gobbins, which many people may know what that is. It is a cage on a bridge. I don't know how to describe this. Go look it up. We didn't get to do it. We ran out of time. But it looks so amazing. It is this walkway that takes you out around the coast, and it's like built into the wall, and there's like this cage around you so you can't slip and fall and die in the water, but you get the views as if you're like walking along this raggedy, craggy, rocky cliff line, and it looks so cool.
That sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, I was really sad that we didn't have time to do that. But there is a little place in town very close to the Island McGee Riding Center called the Rinka. They make homemade ice cream there.
Ooh,
it is worth the line that you have to stand in to get it.
Okay. For homemade ice cream, I can do a line.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should, because it was delightful.
Okay, well then you guys, as you're kind of finishing up this trip, went to Portmuck Harbor. What'd you guys think of that?
It was gorgeous. It was so gorgeous. And what's funny is, like, the water is very cold in Ireland, but because the locals never get the sunshine, everybody comes out like it's a beach day. Even though I'm like, why are you in that water? It looks freezing. People are swimming, people are kayaking and paddleboarding and fishing, and it is right on the coast. And there's this walkway that goes up and around and then has stairs that just spit you out onto the rocks on the other side. And you could spend so much time playing there. It was really lovely, and just this quaint coastal town vibe. There was a nice bathroom there that you could use. Another one of those places that we kind of stumbled along thanks to ChatGPT, but it was like a highlight for the views for sure.
Well, that kind of wrapped up your trip. At this point, you headed back to Dublin and you stayed at a Hilton Dublin Airport hotel. Why did you choose that hotel? Were you able to use some credits?
Yeah, so I mean, I had a bunch of points in my Hilton account already because I opened the Hilton business card, hit that sign-up bonus. It was 45,000 points. Of course, it would only be half. I know, Hiltons. So that's actually a pretty cheap Hilton. Only half that if you transfer them from Amex, guys.
Yes.
But this hotel was very nice. It was 10 minutes from the airport. I had a $60 credit that comes with my Hilton business card to use. It's a quarterly credit. And so we ordered room service, way more food than we could even eat. We got a whole pizza and a Caesar salad, and I can't remember what else, some fries maybe. It was like way too much food. But we had to spend the credit. So we did. And I also, with that card, have gold status. And so we had free breakfast the next day. And it was a nice spread, like that good European breakfast spread that you come to expect.
Did you have any trouble turning back in your rental car before you guys went to the airport?
Oh, it was such an easy experience because we have that elite status. You don't have to go to the off-site rental return. In fact, we accidentally drove there. We drove there because that's where my GPS took us. And then I went up to the man who was working and I was like, I'm sorry, the lady told me I got to return in a parking garage. And this is definitely not a parking garage. We're not even at the airport right now, so I'm confused. And he's like, oh yeah, let me give you directions over to that. It is a totally different spot. Most people have to return at this off-site thing and then take a shuttle over to the airport with all your luggage and everything. When you have status, you get to do the express return in the parking garage that is attached to the airport. It was so easy. He came out, took the keys, took a few pictures. That was it. And we just walked into the airport. And it was so nice.
Status was because of your Chase Sapphire Reserve?
Chase Sapphire Reserve has it. And I believe Amex Platinum has it. And I also believe it comes on the Venture.
Okay. So check your cards,
Check
people.
your cards.
Before you should definitely do that anytime you're renting a car, because most of the Elite Travel credit cards come with some kind of status for one or two of the major car rental chains. So definitely look into that. Now, you guys flew business class home. So did you guys enjoy a lounge when you were at the Dublin airport?
It was so awesome because we had access to a check-in line, a premium check-in line. It wouldn't let me check us in on the app for whatever reason. So we had to physically check in when we got there. We had a line with no line. The other one was a mile long for people who needed to go to the regular people desk. We just walked into this premium line that had walls on either side of it. So you couldn't even see the regular people. It was like they just wanted to, I don't know. It was so bougie and ridiculous. Then we had a special security line also, a fast track line into security. And we had a special pre-clearance line. It ended up that we did not have to do pre-clearance in Ireland because we were flying to Canada first. We went to Toronto. So we actually had to do pre-clearance in Toronto. So we did pre-clearance in Ireland only for them to tell us, oh no, you weren't supposed to do this here, and walk us back out somewhere else. And then we had to do it all over again in Canada.
Oh, no.
Canada did not have any special premium lines. So that was not as fun. But it ultimately was fine. We got to spend a ton of time in the Aer Lingus Lounge in Dublin, and it was very nice. Very nice.
This was kind of a roundabout way home because you had to go to Toronto, then to New York, and then you live in St. Louis, so ultimately to St. Louis on Southwest. But you did make it back. You did have to spend another night in New York, which we'll kind of gloss over. You booked that through the Chase portal using your Sapphire Reserve credit. And because of the status that came with that card, you got upgraded to a suite, which was really awesome, except for you were there for 4 hours. So you didn't really get to enjoy it. But that's what happened. Looking back now, we need to wrap it up.
Yep.
Now that you've had some time to think about the trip, because it has been a hot minute since we got to record it, what's your biggest surprise in it all? Reflecting on flying into Dublin, exploring much of Northern Ireland, what tips maybe do you have for somebody else based on your experience who's planning this trip? What were you surprised about and you think, okay, you definitely need to do this?
Yeah, I knew I was going to love the big stuff. The stuff that everybody goes for, the bridge and the Giant's Causeway. I did not expect to find or to love the little ancient sites so much. If I were to go back, I would do a lot of research beforehand to try to find more of those, because I would route my drives around those places and try to hit a bunch of them because it's fascinating to me. Maybe some people don't love ancient history that's kind of unexplained as much as I do, but I just find the mystery of it all so amazing. And weaving stops into the road trips made it really extra special and made the drive easy. It didn't feel long, any of the drives we made. I think the furthest we ever had to go was 2 hours one direction.
That's not bad. 2 hours is nothing, especially for a Midwest mama.
For a Midwesterner, it is nothing.
Well, we hope that you guys, if you have Ireland, Northern Ireland on your dream travel list, we hope that this inspired you, gave you some ideas. If you can find one of those great fares, or if a deal comes along on points, that you can snag it and now you can do your own trip around Northern Ireland. Thank you so much for joining us today. Find us online. We have our Instagram accounts. You can find Joanna at Joanna_Gammon. You can find me at Family Travel for the Win with the number 4. We have a YouTube channel we like to post on sometimes. We have a Facebook group, Find Wonderland on Points on Facebook. And we would love to connect with you in all the places. Thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to plan your next trip.
Remember, we're travelers sharing our experiences, not financial advisors, so always do your own research and make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a Points and Miles tip.
We'll see you next time on Wonderland on Points.